And now, from beyond our dimension, this is the JeffMara podcast. Here's Jeff.
My guest is Sara Landon, transformational leader, spiritual teacher, and channel of the council. She is the author of the book, The Wisdom of the Council, and today we're going to talk about how to discover our divine plan, destiny, and more. Sara, thank you for joining me and welcome.
Oh, thank you, Jeff, for having me. And it's so great to meet you and your wonderful community. I'm really looking forward to our conversation today.
Sara, if you don't mind, can we start with how did you go from being in the corporate world to the woo-woo world?
Well, if anyone would have told me I was going to go from the corporate world to channeling a group of ascended master beings called the council, I would have said, you have the wrong person. Nope, that's not me. I'm trying to live a normal life and do the best I can. But oh my gosh, now on the other side of it, I am just so grateful for this incredible work that I get to do. And I truly, it's for me anymore, it's not woo-woo. It's natural, it's normal, it's grounded, it's beautiful, it's so full of love. And I think it's the truth. Each of us are searching for or have been searching for to really remember who we are and why we're here and what our purpose is. And it doesn't really matter what walk of life someone is from when they ask me what I do or the name of my book and that it's channeled messages for living your purpose. They're like, oh, tell me more about that. I'm really trying to figure out what that is for me. So to me, I had always had this question of what is my purpose? Why am I here? And what was my highest potential? I had done personal development and the art and science of success and achievement. And I worked really hard in the corporate world and I thought I was doing everything I was supposed to do. And despite, having some success, I still didn't feel like I really was living my truth and I didn't know what that was. And yeah, the journey that took me from there to here was filled with lots of ups and downs, kind of like your classic roller coaster ride. But when I fully allowed myself to just be who I am and share this with the world, and it either resonates with you or you don't. But to me, it's the greatest gift, and I love every moment of it. So I hope your audience really enjoys listening to the council and their wisdom as well.
How did you get the ability to channel? Were you having like a crisis in your life that ultimately resulted in some type of spiritual awakening?
So I believe everybody channels and we each experience it in different ways. But, if you sit down to write and, an hour later, you look back and go, whoa, where did that come from? Or an athlete that's in the zone, or when you're having lunch with a friend and something just comes out of your mouth and they're like, wait, what did you just say? And you felt how profound it was, but you don't really know where it comes from. We all channel. And I have taken over 4,500 people around the world at this point through the experience of learning how to channel. Everyone can channel. We all have this ability. It's unique to each person. Some people express it through writing or art or music or poetry. Some people do channeled automatic writing. Some people are mediums. They have a connection to the other side or animal communication. And some people channel like I do, either verbally or they hear it and they write it down. And some people just genuinely have this knowing. So I think it's a very natural thing. I'd like to demystify that right off the bat. Now, for most people, verbally channeling like I do for hours and hours a day is either not necessarily what they want to do, don't realize they can do it. And for me, early on in the process, if I didn't have someone who was asking questions to the council, when I tuned in to receive their channel, the second I became one with their energy field, I didn't have any questions. I was just in this absolute knowing. So it's been the questions over the many, many years of our incredible community that have expanded the wisdom and allowed us to bring through the books and all the different things that the council's wisdom has become in the world. And so for me, my very first experience, I was always a spiritual child. I always had this knowing that there was something more, and whether you called it God or spirit or whatever it was, I was always very connected with that, very connected to nature and animals. When I was 21 years old, my brother passed away in a car accident very unexpectedly. And when I walked into his viewing, I had never seen a dead body. I, was in this very cold, heavy, emotional room with my family. And I touched his body and was shockingly cold. I didn't expect that. I went and sat down, and I could hear my mom and my family crying, and I was very emotional as well. And after sitting there for some period of time, it just makes me emotional every time I talk about it. But I just felt this liquid love that started from the top of my head and went through my entire body. And I was just completely and totally in peace. And I heard my brother over my right shoulder say, "I'm still here. I'm just not in there." And I knew he was referencing his body. And I said, "Where are you?" And he said, "I'm just as here as I ever was. I just left the density of the body and I'm at a vibration you can't interpret with your physical senses." Those were not natural words that I had heard or used. And I said, "Well, what about heaven and hell?" And he said, "Oh, there is no hell. It's not like that." And, there was just a very short interchange. It seemed really natural. And then it receded. And I was back in this cold, emotional room. It was obvious to me that I'm the only one that had heard what I had experienced. And yet, as much as I wanted in the weeks to come to deny that really happened, I could not deny the love that I felt and the peace that I felt and the peace that never left me from that moment. I knew he wasn't gone. I continued to have experiences very spontaneously where I'd feel that peace, I'd feel that liquid love. I knew he was there, and he would communicate always over my right shoulder, always just this very clear telepathic communication that I heard in my head, and I would communicate back in my head. But to your earlier question, I didn't want to be weird and woo woo. I had a very wonderful influence of a very spiritual aunt in my life that had introduced me to reincarnation and metaphysics, and at a very young age. So I was very open to all of it, but I was trying to be normal. I was trying to be successful. I was trying to do all the things I thought I was supposed to do. And so that continued on for years, always very spontaneously. I know now how anybody can intentionally tune into that energy at any time. And I'll just give you one quick little tip. If you're wanting to connect with someone on the other side, or a loved one, or even the higher self of anyone in your life, most of the time we try to go there when we're sad or in grief and feeling that loss. And that vibrational separation is what doesn't allow you to hear them. They are always there and available to you. But I tell people to close your eyes and think about a time when you love them the most, or when they look the absolute most beautiful or handsome. If it's your mother, think about a time in your life when your mother looked the absolute most beautiful to you, and what color was her dress, and what was she doing? And maybe it's your father, and you think about him in a time when he was in his 40s and strong, and an experience of when you were playing together. Close your eyes and really think about that until you can feel them there. And then ask the question, mom, dad, brother, sister, friend, spouse, child, animal, whatever it is, what do you want me to know? And then just take out a piece of paper and just start writing, and just write, and just write until the energy stops. And then read that message back to yourself. And I teach this process. I use it myself. I had a very dear friend that died in January, and I let my human self grieve that for a little while. And then when I was ready, I sat down and asked him for a message, and it was profound. I know without any doubt, it came right from him. And from that moment, I've been in peace. And so we can do this with anyone. But when you think about the time when you loved them the most, or you had the most incredible experience of something fun or joyful or happy with them, you're elevating your frequency and your vibration. They're always right there, and it makes it really easy to connect. So anybody can do that. Kind of back to my journey, I had these spontaneous experiences with my brother. I didn't know how to consciously tune into it at that time, well over 20 years ago now. And then I started waking up in the middle of the night, and I had these questions. I was raised Christian. And I had studied Hinduism and Buddhism and metaphysics, and I had read all these books. I'd read channeled books. I'd read about the law of attraction and all these things. And I had a lot of questions and no one could really answer them. I had spirituality on one side saying, go get quiet and meditate. And then I had personal development influence that's like, go take massive determined action and work hard and you can make anything happen. And I was like, yeah, but why did I create stuff that why did I put these things on a vision board? And that's what I wanted to manifest it. And then I did. And now I just want to unmanifest it. And I don't know what I even want to create anymore. I had all these questions about life and its purpose and what is God and why are we here? And I couldn't find the answers out there. And what happened is I started waking up in the middle of the night. This energy would wake me up. I would have to write. I would grab a pen or something to write on. And I eventually had a journal by my bed all the time, but I would just write and write, and then it would stop or recede and I would go to sleep. I was never tired the next morning. I would wake up wide awake and I would read it back to myself. And it was the answers to every question that I had, but it wasn't coming from me. It was coming through me. And I also recognized it as my truth and truth. It didn't feel outside of me, but it wasn't coming from my brain. And so that went on for a while. And I was in a yoga class one day, and this woman had been next to me a few times in yoga. And I introduced myself and we started talking. And she told me that she was a quantum healing hypnosis technician practitioner. So QHHT practitioner, quantum healing hypnosis technique. And she was a practitioner of it. And I said, what is that? And she said, well, I help people get in touch with their higher selves. And I was like, I think I need to talk to you. So I scheduled a session with her. And, over the course of many, many, many months, I had several sessions with her where the counsel began coming through. And at first she said, we have permission to talk to Sarah's higher self? And at first it was a higher self communication. And then at one point, this energy came in like nothing I had experienced before. I know now that all of those other experiences were preparing me to be able to handle the vibration and the energy of the counsel, but they came in, my voice changed very dramatically. I started speaking very fast. I remember my human's brain was just trying to keep up with the intensity and the flooding of information that was coming through. And she went on to ask, we called it the voice at first, the voice, these questions. And, the answers were the most profound answers that I really hadn't heard anywhere else, even though a lot of it was similar to things. It was just yet the next evolution of it all and a deeper level that answered my questions and answered her questions. So every time I would do one of these sessions with her, it always felt like a collective, like we or us. And it was just very clear to me at one point, it was a council of higher level beings. And later on, they explained they were a council of ascended master beings. And anyone who's listening at any point, whenever you're listening to them, I truly believe that your higher self is part of that council. They are also not outside of you. And if you are hearing them, you are actually channeling them to you, just as I am. And you are a part of them and they are a part of you. And most people will explain that, like the first time they hear the counsel, most people get very emotional. They feel like it's an experience of coming home. They recognize the voice. It speaks to their soul, whatever their experience is. And so that was my experience, although it was very awkward to hear a replay of my self speaking in a tone that wasn't my natural cadence. And I've channeled now for many, many, many years and for many, many, many hours a day. And so the channel is more similar to my voice now. I channel with my eyes closed, and that's just always how I've experienced it. I believe it has something to do with the brainwave state and allows me to translate and tune into it more deeply. I'm aware of what's going on. I still know who I am. I know who you are, Jeff. I know where we are, but I experience it from a much different level of consciousness. And so I didn't really tell a whole lot of people at first. I was still trying to be very normal. I thought no one is ever going to know this. No one's ever going to hear this, especially not my very loving family who I didn't think would understand. But the council said at one point, if you will just live this wisdom, you will live a life beyond your wildest dreams. And in a very short period of time, the wisdom absolutely transformed my life beyond my wildest dreams. And I just couldn't not share their wisdom with the world. And it was the scariest thing I ever did. Wasn't sure if I was going to lose the love of my dad and some of my really close friends and family members. But I just couldn't imagine going through my whole life and never having shared this with the world and having the opportunity for other people's lives to change the way mine had. And so I just stepped through kind of my greatest fear, and the love of the council, I truly believe, and the incredible power of their words has I think been just lovingly accepted by everyone in my life, and an understanding. And most importantly, if you're someone who, is into things like this, which obviously you are, you wouldn't be listening to this, right? When you accept yourself for who you are and you approve of yourself, everyone in your life will follow that. When you think you're weird and odd and awkward, nobody gets you, they feel that odd awkwardness. When you just genuinely just love them, you don't need everybody else's approval of what you're doing. Just love them and be you and love yourself. And it makes it so much easier to be who you really are in the world. And so fast forward to now, we have our Wisdom of the Council book, which is being released with Hay House on November 1st of 2022. So if you're listening to this, it's probably out already or darn close to being out and available on Amazon or Barnes and Noble, Hudson Books, but it's Channeled Messages for Living Your Purpose. I have another book coming out, which is a collaboration with Mike Dooley called The Dream, the Journey, Eternity, and God, which is channeled answers to your deepest questions, and more in the works. So it's just completely beyond my wildest dreams to be able to be sharing this wisdom in this way. We have an incredible master's class community all over the world that we do channeled messages twice a month live and Q&A with the council. And then one of the things that's really important to me about all of this is that I believe all the wisdom in the world is great, but if you can't integrate it into your life and live it, it's not going to change your life. And so I felt very called to share how I live the council's wisdom. And so we have added integration as part of everything that we do, where not only myself, but people in our community share how they live this wisdom and what's really possible when you do. And I think it not only has expanded me, but our entire community, which is pretty amazing. So there's lots of free resources at our website, channeled resources, integration resources, all sorts of things. But I never could have imagined it becoming everything that it has. And it's just, it's an amazing experience, but you'll get to experience it for yourself here shortly.
Is the council your own personal council? And what I mean by that is the council made up of your spirit guides or guardian angels along with your higher self? Or is it a council that is accessible to everyone?
I truly believe they're accessible to everyone, and many people in my community and people that I've taken through the art of channeling or semi-private channeling experience, getting very similar information. And oftentimes they'll feel kind of reluctant to tell me, like, I think I'm also channeling the council. And I'm like, absolutely you are. I don't own them. And it is also my expression of it includes my higher self and my team and my guides. It's all of it. And so, ultimately it's all source. I truly do believe that. And our own expression of it as a channel includes our own personality and our own soul and spirit and higher self as part of that. And so it is a little bit unique to everyone. I'll give you an example. Someone's like, why doesn't the council channel in French? And I said, well, because I don't speak French. So they can only use words and language that I know. That's my experience of it. There are different types of channels. And for example, Edgar Casey, he was a complete trance channel. Like he did not remember anything that was said. So he had his wife take dictation. There's many channels that experience having their consciousness leave the body and the consciousness of another being come into their body. That's not my experience. And so at first I thought, well, am I doing something wrong? Because I am aware of what's going on and nothing is taking over me. It's just this energy that I'm elevating my vibration or my frequency, and I now have access to. And so a lot of times people now are channeling in a more conscious way. It's another form of channeling, and there's no right or no wrong. Each person's expression is unique. But I also think much of the wisdom that comes through the council is about living your highest potential, living your purpose. Who am I? Why am I here? What's my purpose? How do I live it? I have other friends that their passion is something different than mine. Their passion may be into, a connection to the Pleiadians, where, they are a channel for Pleiadian information. And there's no comparison. There's no right or wrong. Everybody's experience is unique. The council absolutely will always answer any questions about conspiracies. That to give your attention to lower level of agendas is unnecessary, and they will always bring it back to love and pure love and the highest level of consciousness. And that's their expression of it, where other people have an experience of, receiving information that is very much bringing forth conspiracies. That's just a different expression, and one is not right or wrong, but I believe it's how the channel expresses through you and how the channel itself is tuned, I guess, if you want to call it that.
During the channeling session, if somebody asks you a question, do you not even think about it or think of the answer? It just flows through you? And if so, are you ever witnessing the answer and go, wow, that's an interesting answer. I never thought of that.
Yeah, all the time. So I close my eyes and take some deep breaths, and I feel myself become one with them. I feel myself merge into their consciousness. And when whether it's a private session or private, small group sessions, or a large interview like this, where whoever's going to hear it is hearing it at the perfect time for them, whether it's sometime in the future or a replay. I always am in this awareness of the perfection of everything. I hear it, but again, it's a very different level. I don't ever have time to really have a thought about what I think about it, nor do I really. I have learned that my human's perspective on it, she's just going to be blown away by their answer. So I just try to stay in the energy of bringing them through. And I'll give you a couple examples of this. We were talking before we went live, Jeff, that I'm an animal lover. Your community is an animal lover. Lots of people that have come on your show have, Michael has Rue, and, different people have their dog or their cat. I'm a huge animal lover, and incredible compassion for animals. And I'm one of those people, if that Humane Society commercial comes on the television with the sad music and the animals, I got to go. I can't watch it. I can't listen to it. If I hear something about animals, it can bother me for days. So I was doing a session for a woman who was the head of the largest animal welfare organization in the Southern Hemisphere. And her entire organization's purpose for being was to essentially go into areas of ultimate animal cruelty in factory farming facilities and try to change legislation for the highest well-being of the animals. You can tell I get emotional when I talk about it. I brought in the council. She started sharing with the council things that she had witnessed and experienced. And there was never a moment where I felt any wavering emotionally in any way other than the pure love that the council had for the highest truth, the highest answer, the highest form of action from the highest level of consciousness that she can take. But there was never any judgment. There was never any sadness. It was a much higher perspective of it all. And another example, many years ago when I was first channeling, and at first I did a lot of private sessions for people, and that was essentially what I did. And it was a woman I had actually known, and she asked to talk to the council, not about herself. She asked the council about her son, who was 14 years old and wanting to become a woman. And the council explained to her that your child is here to teach acceptance and chose you because your child knew that you could allow him or her to be the highest expression of acceptance and that you support that. And so it went on like that. And then what came up was that she herself had been molested by her father from the age of about 8 years old, and actually did not stop it because she didn't want her dad to molest her younger sister. So this continued on until she was about 16 years old and ended up leaving the house. And the level of grief and sadness that she was experiencing when she first told the council, I did not experience any of that. I experienced it from their level of consciousness, from their level of pure, unwavering, unconditional love for her, for the experience. And within a few minutes of talking her through it from a higher perspective, she was actually totally in peace about it and had come to this state of unconditional love herself, and still is there. She said, literally like given her life back. She was able to experience intimacy with her husband now that she never had before. All while that was happening, I was in the state of unconditional love. After I came out of the session, a few hours later, my human experienced what she had said and what she had been through. And I had never experienced anything like that. I couldn't even imagine someone experiencing something like that. And I felt a great amount of sadness for that. But then I had to live my own, what comes through me, this wisdom, what my channel brings through, which is, if you're in the level of consciousness where you're in the suffering, you cannot see the grander perspective. And in any moment, you can elevate your consciousness to that place of unconditional love and be in peace instead of in grief. And so I eventually did that. But to me, it was just an absolute knowing of the level of consciousness I'm in when I'm channeling the council is so much different than what our humans can get stuck in, the right and the wrongs of things, that do happen in this life experience.
I interview a lot of near-death experiencers, and a lot of them are told to come back because they have a purpose here, but they don't know what their purpose is. Can you help us discover our divine plan and our destiny? And if so, how?
Yeah, well, I think it's a great question for the council too. I'll give you my perspective on it of years and years of channeling that answer for people in multiple different ways. But, ultimately you're here to experience joy. They would say this life is like a grand adventure in all of the universe. You had the great privilege to be in physical form on Earth at this time, which they say is the great awakening of humanity. And you have chosen to be here. And if you are someone who's listening to this, I truly believe you're here as a wayshower. And your consciousness, your frequency, your vibration, your love, your joy, your peace, as you create that within you, you are creating that in the world around you. And I think most all of us would say, what do we want for the world? Peace, joy, love, abundance, freedom. So our purpose is to create that within us and to elevate our own consciousness to a place to live in that state of heaven on earth, of peace and joy and love and harmony and freedom and abundance and well-being. And most importantly, not to judge yourself when you're not there. If you notice that you're a classic example, when someone says, oh, I have to go do this. Well, no, you're choosing. You're really choosing to go do that, either because you really love your child or you want to have the money to pay the bills, but you're choosing. And we don't realize how we deny and doubt our worthiness and our self-love and our well-being and our joy. So they would say, you're here to create the life you want to live. You are creator within your own creation of reality. And so your purpose is to fully express all that you really are. And you're either allowing yourself to be who you really are in each moment, or you're doubting and denying that you're worthy of being who you want to be and doing what you want to do and having the experiences you want to have. They would say, as part of this grand adventure, you're here to have the experiences you want to have. And we don't all want the same experiences. You know, someone may want to travel the world and have very few responsibilities and be able to go to all different parts of the world. And maybe they love photography and they want to take pictures all over the world, right? Maybe someone else wants to have a family and create this beautiful home, wonderful food, and share and love their family. There's no predetermined, this is your purpose, but whatever experiences you want to have are your purpose for being here. You're also here expanding consciousness. You're expanding the infinite potentials and possibilities for all of humankind as you allow yourself to explore the different potentials that you want to create in your own life. And we're actually here to have fun. We're actually here to have fun and love our life and do what brings us joy and do the things we love to do. And you're serving in ways that you can never understand when you're in that vibration, that frequency of joy, when you're in that consciousness level of knowing your well-being, knowing your abundance, knowing your freedom. You're changing the lives of people around you, whether you know them or not. It could be a person at the grocery store. It could be a very dear friend. It could be a huge group of people, like the incredible work you're doing. That's your purpose. That's your purpose. You're not here because you did some terrible karmic thing in your past and you're damned to this life to suffer because of some terrible thing you did in your past life. That is not why you're here. You are not here to struggle and suffer to earn a living because, this is who so-and-so told you you should be or have to be, right? You're not here to suffer. You're not. And we have the free will to choose. So if you really genuinely believe that life is about suffering, again, you're creator within your own creation, and you have the free will to choose that experience. And some people choose that their entire life, and some people have that experience and then they go, wait, I really feel like the truth of who I am is to be joy, that life is meant to be joyful. And then you create that experience.
I'm sure there's going to be comments in the video about suffering, and they're going to say, well, what about all these children in these other countries that are suffering? What do you say about that?
Well, so first off, what the council would say about taking any action about anything ever that you're passionate about or that you care about is first get yourself into the highest level of consciousness. A lot of times we want to go change and make a difference and help people, but we're in the suffering. We're in the lack. We're in the separation. We're in the fear ourselves. And so that's what you're actually contributing. When you're in that state of consciousness, you're contributing to the fear and the suffering. So the first step is always your consciousness. So when you elevate your own consciousness to acceptance and compassion and unconditional love and peace within yourself, and you take action from that level, you're contributing to more of those things like peace and love and joy. So they will come back to every time you are creator within your own creation of reality. I can see this in a couple different ways, but one of the analogies that really helps me is, we recently had a hurricane in the United States, right? It wasn't part of my experience. And if there wasn't someone who told me that there was a hurricane coming, it would not have been part of my experience. And yet when we are worried and scared and nervous and, oh, that's terrible, and watching the news, you are bringing that experience into your reality. Now, the flip side of that is I lived in California during a huge fire and mudslides where there were several deaths. I lived in the middle of that, in the exact place that happened. And it was not a horrible experience. It was not a terrible experience. I have never experienced such love, such sense of community, care about people. And every step of the way, whether it was the fire or the mudslide that followed, I was guided every step of the way. And if I stayed tuned in, I was shown to go here and I was shown to go there, and I didn't know why. And yet, after it all happened, I realized exactly why I was guided to different places and different experiences in that. And I'm the first person to tell you, my love for animals, my love for humanity, we are here, the council says, because of our great love, because of our love for humanity and the animals and the planet. But you can't get sick enough to make a sick person well. You can't suffer enough to make those that are suffering no longer suffer. What do you most want for them? If you see starving children on the other side of the world, what do you most want for them? Is it peace? Is it well-being? The first step is to answer that for yourself. What do you most want to create in this moment? And if it's peace, then close your eyes, take some deep breaths, go from your head into your heart, and feel what peace feels like. What does peace feel like? Some people would say calm, light, free, harmonious. Just go into your heart and feel it. When you really feel it, then align every cell of your body to that feeling of peace. Align every cell of your body to that feeling of peace. Up to the top of your head, down to your toes, out your fingertips. Align every cell of your body to that feeling of peace. And then expand it 1 foot around you in every direction, like a light all around you. And align every particle of creation in the field around you to that vibration or frequency of peace. And then expand it, fill your room with peace. Expand it out to your town or your city, and see that frequency of peace going from your heart to the heart of those children, like a light from your heart to their heart. And focus every particle of infinite creation between your heart into their heart to feel or align to that frequency of peace. And in that moment, you have created peace, and you have created peace on earth, and you have raised your vibration and your consciousness to a state of realizing peace. And if you can do that, that means anybody can do that. And that's what creates change. Consciousness, not fear. That's what creates change. Consciousness, not more suffering or reacting or fighting against or holding yourself in separation, creating your own struggle or suffering, when what you really want is peace or love. And when you do that, really, you will notice that the world around you begins to move into the state of whatever it is you're focused on. And the council would explain that as, the particles of infinite creation are always responding to you. So as you create it within yourself, you're creating it in the world around you. And everyone has the power to do this. And, I have met many people on this journey of this work with the council, and one woman in particular, actually the most, I genuinely can't imagine anything worse on this planet from my perspective than what she had lived through. She lived through genocide as a young girl, fleeing the country she lived in. She watched her parents and all of her siblings and all of her family members murdered around her. She watched it, she lived it, and she was the sole survivor of her family of genocide. She ended up creating a beautiful life for herself, and is a very powerful woman who speaks about unconditional love. And that's what she teaches. And she comes from an experience of genocide. And so every one of us have the ability to liberate ourselves into our freedom and our power, because we all have the same source. It's remembering that you have that source within you. I have seen people go through extraordinary things of poverty or devastation or loss of a child, loss of a spouse, all sorts of things, diseases, and none of that is the end. It in so many cases allows people to remember who they really are, and to remember the power they have, and to create their life the way they want it to be. And we all have this power. We do. Even though you might want to go, but they're this innocent child, they don't have a ability to do that. They do. They have a source within them too. And the proof of that is a little fetus inside of the womb has the consciousness and intelligence to draw to it everything it needs from its environment, which at that moment is its mother. It has the intelligence and the consciousness within it to draw to it from its environment everything it needs to thrive and live. And I also hear the question of, but what about the baby that didn't make it? You know, what about the children that don't make it? And I feel that unconditional love for them just as you do. I understand that completely. My brother died. My beloved cousin died. I've had a lot of people in my life that died. My nephew had a baby that did not live, and then went on to have children and have more children that did live. And so I understand that question of like, but this is unfair. This shouldn't have happened, right? But again, we are all a divine being, a soul, a spirit. You will cause your own suffering when you think you know what another soul's journey should be. My brother explained that he came here to teach our family how to love, and he came here for his own experience. And at that point in time, which seemed way too young for all of us, his journey that he had chosen here was complete. And whether that's 3 days old or 30 years old or 90 years old, each soul has their own journey. I had a friend who had a baby that had Down syndrome, and she was like, why did this happen to me? And on the other side of it, now that this child is a teenager, she's like, this child is the happiest, most loving person. I realize now absolutely nothing went wrong, and I wouldn't want my child to be any other way, because they are just pure love. Yet in the moment when she found out her child was going to have Down syndrome, it seemed like something had gone wrong, but it didn't. And this is just the level of consciousness or awareness that the council offers. You know, this is not how I saw the world, Jeff, before channeling the council. I mean, I guess I did know on some level it was the truth always, but it wasn't how I was programmed.
I think it's a good time now where maybe we can
Yeah.
channel the council.
Yeah,
And I asked
absolutely.
my audience if they have questions, and I have over 100 questions, so we can't get through them all. But I think it'd be interesting to get through some and see how it goes.
So that being said, the council always does tell us that, you know, what they're really bringing through is awareness. So if you allow it, your question probably will be answered. And if it wasn't answered today, sometimes it's because your team, your soul, your higher self, the council that is part of you, is orchestrating an experience of your answer that might be even more powerful than you hearing a direct channeled answer to it. So just allow yourself to be open, and I assure you your question will be answered. So I'm going to close my eyes and take a couple of deep breaths. The council will begin with a message for us, and then go to your questions, Jeff, and just have fun with it.
All right, great.
Here we go. We are so pleased and delighted to have the opportunity to speak with you on this fine and glorious day indeed. And we remind you that while our words to you are important, this is a vibrational experience of remembering the truth of who you really are and why you are here, and all that you intended when you chose this magnificent life experience, because we assure you, your life is meant to be so very good for you. You are here as a master of your life experience. You are here during the greatest transformation of human consciousness that has ever occurred in any lifetime. You are here to be all that you desire to be, to expand consciousness, to expand the potentials and possibilities. You are here to express all that you are, and you are source. You are God. You are the divine. You are here to choose the experiences that you want to have for you. You are here not master over any other, not needing to control, but you are here to master creating your reality in physical form the way you wish it to be. You are here to master your thoughts, your awareness, to choose as the divine, sovereign being that you are. When you allow yourself to really be who you are, and you allow yourself into the level of consciousness that is the truth of you, which we say is a state of pure love, your well-being and your abundance is assured. You are absolutely free, every single one of you, to create your reality the way you wish it to be all that you wish to be. In fact, we say, you are everything you wish to be. You already are. It is all within you, and it always will be. So, we know you have many questions for us. Where would you like to begin?
First, I want to say thank you for joining us today. And let me
We
start
join
with,
you every day.
are the
We are
men
always with you and always available to you, even if it is the first time you are hearing us.
Are the members of the council the same ones that we meet with prior to planning out our rebirth?
Indeed, if you are hearing this, you drew this to you. We are a part of you, and you are a part of us. We say, you are us, and we are you. You are the council here on earth. But yes, are we the greater collective of source energy that has been with you always through every incarnation, including the moment that you chose this grand adventure and all that you wish to experience here? Indeed.
Are we supposed to be putting our energy into raising our vibration and frequency so we can ascend? Or are we supposed to be focused on simply living the lives our higher self designed for us?
Well, they're both exactly the same thing, and there is no should from our perspective. Understand, there is no judgment from our side ever. You cannot get this wrong. You are either experiencing a joyful, meaningful, purposeful, happy life filled with abundance and love and well-being, or you're holding yourself apart from that. Now, you can say that's because of your vibration or your frequency, or not following your soul's desire, but that there is no judgment from our side about that. You are creator within your own creation of reality. Ascension simply means to rise up, to raise your consciousness into a state of pure love, to go beyond the lack, the limitation, the fear, the suffering, the worry, the overwhelm, the trying to figure it out, the making big decisions. All of that happens because you are lowering your vibration, your consciousness, and in an experience of separation that makes life seem difficult. So don't raise your vibration, your consciousness, because we say you're supposed to. Raise it because it feels really good to you to be in peace and joy and harmony and freedom and love and well-being, doing the things that bring you joy, which is your soul's desire for your life, for you to experience the joy and the freedom to create your reality the way you wish it to be. Ascension, it's not about popping out of this body. And truly, we say, it is about coming into realization, the integration of every part of you, to live in harmony with every part of you, in the realization of all that you are, to experience true creation, which has no agenda. You don't have to have the lack of anything ever to create more of what you want to experience. And so, in coming into the place of understanding that your realization is here for you in every moment, from that place, your well being and your abundance is assured, and you can do what's fun and you can do the things that bring you joy. And you live in a level of consciousness and awareness where you see the grander perspective of things. You have a higher viewpoint, so you don't entangle. You don't judge yourself. You don't judge others. You don't judge circumstances. Oh, that's terrible. You don't entangle with lower level frequencies and vibrations. You can allow each person to be creator of their reality because they are, and each person has the free will to do that. It might be someone you love very, very, very much, but they may be choosing to hold themselves in a vibration of shame, feeling very lonely and sad and struggling. You can't go down into that emotion with them and drag them out of that. You will just find yourself entangled with shame and feeling it as if it is your own experience. The flip side is also true. You cannot be warring with anything outside of you. You cannot attempt to be warring with something outside of you. All of that energy moves through you first. And your cells in your body are responding to a vibration or a frequency or a feeling or an emotion of warring against. Your body doesn't know that you're intending to direct that outside of you. It feels that warring energy projected within itself. And many people ask us, how do you eradicate cancer on your planet? Well, the very explanation of what it is cells fighting themselves. And you wonder why, when there's so much warring, when you think you're energetically directing that energy outside of you, you're not. It's all being experienced by the cells in your body as if it's happening now. Which is why we say you are creator within your own creation of reality. The particles of infinite creation are always responding to you. You get more of what you are. You don't get what you think you want or need. You get more of what you are. If you're in lack and you want abundance, or you think you need abundance, but you hold yourself apart from it, you will not experience the abundance that is your divine inherent birthright. It is only when you align with the abundance that you do have, and you feel into the abundance that you do have, and you really begin to see within your reality and feel, most importantly, that you are abundant, that you will draw more and more and more and more abundance to you. It can be no other way. Does that make sense to you?
Yes. You mentioned war, and I'm so glad that you did, because many people must be concerned about a global war. And a common question that has been asked to me to ask you is, are we going to have World War III?
We want to start with this. You are so much more powerful than you believe yourself to be. One of your greatest fears in your collective consciousness at this time is nuclear war, nuclear weapons, nuclear warfare, nuclear power, energy. It's a power and an energy. You are more powerful than any external form of power. You have a power within you that you are doubting and you are denying when you go into fear and entangle with the unwanted and push against. What you focus on is what you're giving your attention to. What you focus on and the meaning you give it is what is creating your reality. If you are creating peace and harmony and love and joy within yourself, and your relationships are of peace and love and joy and harmony, it does not matter what is happening anywhere in the world. It will be your reality. Now, if you go turn on the television and focus yourself into an alternative reality that is not your reality at this time, then you have entangled with an unwanted reality. And in that, you will feel powerless, like a victim, like you have no control, but you always, always, always do. You are here on this planet, if you are listening to this, and all of you are, to create peace and harmony and joy and love and freedom and abundance and well-being within yourself, which will positively contribute it to the world around you. Whatever you're feeling, whatever you're focused on, whatever you're giving your attention to is what you're contributing to in this moment. You have more diseases on your planet than ever before because there's just continual focus on sickness and fear of getting sick and fear of these diseases, and giving your attention and therefore your power to all of these diseases, to these wars. Now, we agree, when one is in a level of consciousness aligned to the truth of who they are, you don't kill another. You don't try to control another. You don't try to take power over another. But the same is also true. When you're aligned with the truth of who you really are, you don't give your power to another. Wars and control of people will not end until people stop giving their power to sources outside of them and allowing others to control them. Now, we know no one would ever say, I want someone to hurt me or control me or take my freedom. But in every moment, there's an opportunity to come into the awareness and the truth of who you really are. And in that moment, you would know your power, and you would not give it to someone or something outside of you, nor allow another to take it from you. They cannot without your permission to do so. You giving your power to the fear of a World War III is you placing your power outside of you. You are so much more powerful than you know yourself to be. And it wouldn't matter what was going on anywhere in the world. You would always be guided to that which is in the highest alignment of the truth of who you are and the vibration you're in, if you will follow energy and let light guide the way. That means if something was about to happen in the place that you are in, and you all of a sudden felt this guidance, and we were following the energy and following the light in a different direction, that catastrophe or natural disaster or man-made disaster would not be part of your experience. This is the power you all have. Do you understand?
Yes. Many people who have had a near-death experience claim that the other side is more real than here. So where we are living now, is this a simulation or a waking dream?
We say it's a holographic reality that you are projecting into your force field of consciousness. So what you really are is a force field of consciousness. You're a force field of consciousness. And you can expand that consciousness to include all of the universe, or you can contract that consciousness to think you are just this body. And you can contract it even further to be really restricted and slow your energy and lower your consciousness, which means to condense the force field that is you. And so when you expand it to include all of the universe, or one is not limited to the density of the body, and they're in the experience of the force field of consciousness and oneness with all that really is, you understand that what's really going on here, although it seems very real to you because you are interpreting reality through your limited human senses, what you hear, what you taste, what you touch, what you smell, what you feel, and we would even say what you think, is a way of interpreting reality through your limited senses. Thinking is not the same as consciousness. So when you project an image in your mind, which you might call your imagination, and all things in this reality of physical form have been created through the imagination. It's not a make-believe place. It's a higher level of consciousness in a higher rate or vibration where things manifest instantly in that dream state reality that is much more fluid and expeditious than physical form or physical matter. But what we would refer to as ascension is coming into those higher levels of consciousness, those higher vibrations and frequencies, into realization, you will experience instant manifestation, true creation. What you want and need will show up even before you know you need it. There will not be a separation from your reality and what you are creating. You will experience it in a higher dimension of consciousness as it's moving into form. We will tell you the formula for creation is very simple. Consciousness moves energy into form. The more you elevate your consciousness, the more you allow source energy, and the faster source energy moves into physical form in your reality, always as a response to you. The particles of infinite creation are always responding to you. So we would explain it that way, and then we will also explain this. Life is really, really fun when you get this. It may be different than what you believed, but somewhere within you, you are remembering. It doesn't mean that love that you feel for another is not real. It is real, but you're not separate from anything ever. And so while you might be creating in your imagination and experience, and it may seem as if there is a delay of it moving into form, if you can really focus on elevating your consciousness and being in a state of joy, you will allow that source energy to move into form in the most efficient and expeditious and harmonious way. Does that make sense to you?
Mm-hmm. What is the best way to elevate our consciousness and sustain it in an elevated way?
Do the things that bring you joy. Period. When you are in a higher state of consciousness, it's a joyful state. It's a blissful state. It's a peaceful state. Ask yourself, what can I do right now that would bring me joy? What would bring me joy? What do I love to do? What would be fun today? And go do that thing. Now, it seems really simple, but it's the hardest thing for human beings because but I should do this and I have to do this and I can't do that because I have to go to work and I have to make a living and I have all these responsibilities and I have these things. I can't do the things that bring me joy. I can't do the things that are fun for me. So you deny your own joy and your own freedom as a habit that humans have learned, not even realizing or being conscious of the fact that as much as you want to be in joy and raise your vibration, you deny yourself the experience of it. Well, I'll go do what brings me joy once I get everything else done. I don't even know how to have fun because all I've ever done is worked. So start by asking yourself, what could I do right now that would bring me joy? Now, you might be living in the Midwest of the United States of America, and the first thing that comes to your mind is walking on a beach, feeling the sand beneath your feet and the sunshine on your face. If you deny yourself to feel that feeling and that experience, it's not going to feel very good to you. If you say, but I can't do that, I don't live on the beach, can't afford to go to the beach. If you allow yourself to feel into that, you are in a reality where you are having exactly the experience that you want to create that would bring you joy in this moment. And that will raise your vibration, your frequency to that state of joy. Joy is the vibration most closely aligned to that high vibrational feeling state. Do you understand?
Mm-hmm. You said earlier that thinking is not consciousness. Can you elaborate on that more?
Mental thinking, your brain and how your brain operates. So first off, thoughts aren't really somewhere in your brain. Understand that. You have the mental thinking process, and your brain is like a great storage facility of everything you've ever seen, heard, taste, touched, smelled, everything you believe about it, makes all sorts of associations, and is a very highly advanced computer system interpreting packets of information. Most of that is what you believe is the truth of you, because it's what you have interpreted it as reality through your physical senses. And you can't perceive anything beyond that, because when you're on a lower rate of vibration or frequency, you're not accessing the level of consciousness and awareness of anything beyond your physical reality. What you really are is consciousness, awareness. The more you raise your vibration, your frequency, the more consciousness and awareness that opens up to you. And literally, whole new worlds will present themselves to you as you raise your vibration and frequency that you've never experienced before. They were always there, but it was because of your rate of vibration that allowed you to summon more source energy to perceive yourself into levels of consciousness or awareness beyond the limitations of physical form. Do you understand?
Mm-hmm. Can you tell us about any of Earth's mysteries, like how the pyramids were built, or if Bigfoot or the Loch Ness Monster are real?
Well, everything is real, and nothing is real like you think of it. So understand this. Something like a Sasquatch, or you might call it a Bigfoot, it, just like an angel, or just like a hummingbird, or just like a fairy. All of these things are in realms of consciousness and awareness that are all happening now. And while you are in an experience of physical form, in an experience of linear time, in an experience of separation, that is not all that is going on here. So if you were to say that can something move from a higher level of consciousness and flow through a lower level of consciousness? Yes. Most of the time you don't perceive any of that because of your limited physical senses, because of the rate of vibration or frequency you're in. All this stuff is around you all the time. Now, the other thing is that you are creating in a certain level of density in an experience of linear time. That's not all that's going on here. And in higher levels of consciousness, you go beyond linear time and you go beyond the limitations of form. So then it becomes very easy to understand how the pyramids are constructed, how certain things that are unexplainable, sort of say, in the human experience become possible. Does that make sense to you?
Mm-hmm. Is Jesus alive on the earth at this time?
Well, the being or the collective consciousness that you call Jesus is always present, always available to every single one of you, is a vibration and a frequency and a level of consciousness that always exists. We would say all of you who are realizing what the Christ consciousness is here in humanity's experience are that embodiment of the Christ consciousness on earth at this time. To give your power, so much power, that there's one and only sacred being, and the rest of you are sinners. It's just, we love you so much, but it's just silly. There's no judgment from our side, but there was not just one sacred being and the rest of you are sinners. And if that one sacred being isn't walking the earth, you're doomed. No. In fact, he would say, do not give your power to me. You can do all that I have done and even greater things. The way to the source is within. You have the same power that which Jesus had. So you are that power, that Christ consciousness, that pure unconditional love walking the earth at this time. You understand?
Speaking of time, has time sped up?
As you raise your vibration and your consciousness, you'll experience much faster manifestation. So for some people, it appears as if time is speeding up because they are in a higher vibration or frequency. They may say, I don't even remember what day it is or what time it is or what year it is. But it's because they're in an experience beyond linear time. Now, the opposite can also be true. One who is very distracted by external circumstances may feel like time is speeding up as well. There's no right or wrong, but you can go beyond the experience of linear time. In fact, we would say, and have time work for you. Time then becomes a tool to enhance true creation in your experience. Does that make sense to you?
Mm-hmm. I have one last question for you, and that is, some people who have a near-death experience wind up in a place that's completely black, which we call the black void. Can you tell us what that is?
The infinite field of potential where anything is possible for you to create. It's a state of absolute being in the oneness of all that is. It's that absolute point of stillness. And we say stillness is the access point to acceleration. It's experiencing yourself as the center of the universe. You understand?
Yes, but why is it black?
Well, what does the color black represent? Is it all the colors or none of the colors?
I thought it's absence of color.
So, what is white? Is
All,
white all the colors or none of the colors?
all of the colors.
So, what are the colors?
Frequencies of energy.
Mm-hmm. So, when you come into a place where you might say it's black or dark, think about it as it nighttime. What's really bright when it seems really dark? The stars.
Yeah.
All the things you cannot see become clear. The stars are there. The planets, the stars are there all the time, but the sun is shining so bright that you don't see them. But in the darkness, you see the light. So we understand what you're asking. There's nothing wrong in that moment. You're literally sitting as the center of the universe. And you could, in that very moment, focus yourself right back into the light if that's the experience you want to have. There are many who love to sit in the void of everything and nothing. Everything and nothing, all in the same moment. And there are some that really love to be in the light because they feel the frequency, the vibration, the energy. And then there's some that really like to sit in the void of everything and nothing at all. You'll never really understand it so long as you're in a physical body perceiving things through physical senses. But there's never a time that you are not the source of all that is, even when you're sitting in the void. Do you understand?
Yes. Are you saying that
Let us ask you something.
Hmm?
Do you ever close your eyes and just go within and feel how good it feels to go within when you close your eyes?
Occasionally, but not that often?
Does it feel good to you when you do?
Probably.
So when you close your eyes and go within and just really feel, you're releasing the interpretation of the physical sense of sight. If you were to then put headphones on and a blindfold on, you would sit in this beingness, this oneness, this void. And some really like that experience. Feel even more deep within themselves in that experience. And then some, when they meditate or visualize or close their eyes, they see a light. It's all experiences of the source of all that is you. It's the isness of all that is. Now, from our perspective, there really isn't a polarity of dark and light. There is the oneness of all that is, and you are creator within it all. Did you have another question about that?
Well, you were talking about source, and I said earlier I had one last question, but I think this will be the last one. Are we all God completely, or do we have a piece of God inside of us, which people may call the divine spark?
You are that which you call God. The energy that creates worlds, the energy of pure love, that is who and what you really are. Now you can have an experience of something outside of that, or pretend that you're not that. You can pretend that you're separate. In fact, you're the mass conscious collective is in a vibrational experience called the third dimension of separation, where you believe yourself to be separate from source, that you believe yourself to be separate from others, separate from what it is that you want. It's out there. You have to go get it. We say everything is here and available to you now, as part of you, as an extension of you. Until the point in time you come to the experience of understanding that there is nothing outside of you. Now, why focus yourself into an experience of separation? It all leads you back to you. It's all a fun way of experiencing yourself in separation. It provides data and information that all leads to the expansion of all that is, which is you. Are you a unique expression of source? Indeed. And you will return to source because source is what you are. You are source. You will return to source because source is what you are. You are God. You will return to God because God is what you are. Can you have an experience of being separate from it, or believing yourself or perceiving yourself separate from source? Yes, but it's still what you are. Do you understand?
Mm-hmm. So, would it be accurate to say that you and I are the same? We are one.
Indeed. And your soul, the grander part of you, has never forgotten that, and enjoys the beautiful expression of a human that you have created yourself to be. And really, the source, the truth, the soul of who you are sees all others as that unique expression of the divine that they are too. And so when you are judging yourself or another, it's never going to feel very good to you, because it's not the truth of who you are. You are everything you wish to be. You already are. You are creator within your own creation of reality. You are a master, here to fully come into realization and then live as the master that you are, creating the experiences you desire to have for you. And after this grand adventure and you release the density of the body, you'll return to the source of all that is, which is you and has never been separate from you. So have fun and enjoy this. You are far more powerful than you have ever believed yourself to be. As you continue to expand your consciousness and you allow yourself to play in the infinite possibilities that are here for you, you are expanding all that is possible for all of humankind. And you are here during this greatest time, the transformation of human consciousness. You are here because of your great love. You are love, and that is the truth of everything. We are always with you. We are always available to you. We love you. We love you. We love you. And for now, we are complete.
Thank you.
Good.
I looked at your YouTube channel, and you have a successful YouTube channel, and I just took a question off one of the titles of your videos, and that is, how do we activate our intuition?
Love it. I will tell you, well, I kind of shared with you earlier the process of tuning into a loved one on the other side that's always available to every single one of us. One of the things that if you listen to the video, when I wanted to continually open up my channel, and the guidance I kept getting was to journal, to journal, to journal. And I'm like, I don't have time for journaling. I don't want to journal. But I will tell you now that it has absolutely opened up my awareness to connect to the infinite intelligence that is always available to you. So have some fun with it. And if you say, what does my soul most want me to know today? Or what message does my soul have for me today? Or if you prefer your angels or your guides, what message do my guides have for me today? And then just start writing, and just write and write and write. And when it's done, read it back to yourself out loud, or have someone else read it back to you out loud, or read it to someone else out loud, because you will realize that what that voice or that guidance says is not what your head would say. I've done this process with many people, and they think, oh, well, nothing's really happening. I'm not really tuning into my intuition. And I'll say, well, send me what you wrote and I'll read it. And I read it back to them, and it says, you are loved. You are everything you wish to be. You're exactly where you're meant to be. Everything's working out for you. You are perfect the way you are. Those types of things. And I say, but if you think about it, your head would never say those things. My head would say, you better get this done. You better get that done. You should have figured that out. You should have gotten that done. And so if you will play with this process of tuning in, asking a question, asking for guidance, journal, and then read it back to yourself. The number one thing about intuition is probably not what most people think. The number one thing about intuition is trusting it. Most people are very intuitive, but what is coming to them intuitively, or what their intuition is telling them, doesn't seem logical. They can't figure it out. And so they don't trust their intuition, and they begin to doubt their intuition. To me, my intuition is my relationship to my higher self. It's my relationship to infinite intelligence. It's my relationship to source. So it's like any other relationship. If you're in a relationship and you don't have time for that person, you don't trust that person, they don't trust you, they don't make time for you, they constantly doubt you, they constantly second guess you, they don't believe anything you say, right? Not going to be a very good relationship. When you tune into your intuition, which is your connection to your soul or source or that higher awareness, treat it like you would anybody else you love. Spend time with it. Really make time for it in your day, in your life. Trust it, believe it, love it. It may sound silly, but go do something you really love to do and bring your intuition with you, right? And really, if you're doing something really joyful, feel all of you, feel that intuitive part of you enjoying it too. It's a relationship, and it's all about trust and making time for it. And for me, I experience intuition very much as a fluid experience. It's just a knowing. I just know. I do automatic writing sometimes, but now for me, it's very much a knowing. I know. I can feel it. And yet I still enjoy the process of automatic writing because it's satiating my senses. You know, we're actually like, you can even be drawing a picture or creating a flower arrangement with your intuition, but it's about bringing it into your experience, creating a relationship with it, and really trusting it.
Do you think that the universe is conspiring for us, as well as always helping us and giving us information, and all we need to do is tune into it?
Absolutely. And nothing and no one could ever convince me otherwise. It is 100% my experience. The universe is always responding to you. Always things are happening for you. In the moment, you may not know why it's happening for you, but things are always happening for you. And I can look at a lot of things in my life and go, well, how was that happening for me? Well, at the time, you may not feel that, but a few years later, you might look back at that experience and go, oh, I see now why that was happening for me. So if you believe you live in a world where the universe is rigged in your favor and always supporting you and always available to you and everything's always happening for your highest and best good, that will be your reality. If you believe that there's nothing and all that is what you can touch and figure out and what's logical, then that will be your experience, right? We each have the free will to choose that.
After watching this podcast, people may want to reach out to you. Are you okay with that?
Yeah, I mean, I would first recommend, as you mentioned, we have a YouTube channel, Sara Landon Life. There's a lot of great free resources there, channeled information from the council, lots of integration videos. I do a monthly podcast called Journey of the Master, which is about living a particular teaching of the council that we focus on each month. If you go to my website, saralandon.com, there's many, many free resources there. In fact, there's an entire tab called Free Resources. You can find channeled messages. I would just encourage people to read through and look at the different images and read the different titles, and whatever one speaks to you, start there and peruse through them again. And if something else jumps out at you, go to that one next. We have several courses. My master's class advanced program, we have a live call every Wednesday from 12 p.m. to 1:30 Pacific time. They're recorded. The replays are available. People can ask me their questions live. They can ask the council questions live there. There's tons of different courses if you want to dive deeper into a particular topic like manifestation or creating your heaven on earth or creating your reality. You can dive into those different topics and encourage people to get the book, The Wisdom of the Council, which are channel messages for living your purpose. So yeah, there's lots of different ways for people to interact and connect.
All right. Well, before we finish up, can you leave us with one last positive message?
I just have to say, whatever dream you have in your heart, you're here to live it. You really are. You wouldn't even have that dream in your heart. And I know what it's like to walk through your absolute greatest fear, or to have this dream for your life or an experience you want to have and have absolutely no way of knowing how you're going to create that. But you're worthy of those things. Trust yourself. Trust that there is a source that is you, that is aware of you, that is always guiding you. And your life is meant to be beautiful, magnificent, as the council says, joyful. You're meant to be abundant and live in well-being. Love yourself. I know one of the deepest things for me is just to, you are whole and worthy and complete, just exactly as you are right now. You are more than enough. So love yourself and know that you are worthy of every dream in your heart. And if it's possible for me, it's possible for anyone. So keep going and trust yourself.
Sara, thank you for that message. And thank you again for being my guest today. I wish you a great rest of your day.
Thank you so much. This has been awesome. Thank you so very much. Bye, everybody.
Thanks for watching the JeffMara podcast. I really appreciate you. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. And if you do, there are loyalty badges and other perks depending on your level of membership. All you need to do is click the join button underneath the video to find out more. Thank you for your support.